My name is Justin Munitz. I am a Cape Town-based portrait photographer. These are the stories of the people that I photograph. With me today is the lovely Antoinette. Welcome.
Thank you.
Taking the time out of your day to tell us all about your story. Everything from the beginning, we want to know everything about you, how you sort of started in acting, that point where you were like, I want to be an actress.
Yeah.
That point where you were like, I am an actress, and where you are now.
Sure. I think, I knew from ever since I was a little girl, it was either that or a anthropologist.
Oh, wow.
And I think, being an anthropologist, I've always been interested in stories, where people come from, why do they think the way they do, and why do they act the way they do. But my brother knew that he wanted to be a doctor, and I wanted to be an actress. And it just happened that way. And both my parents are psychologists, so we've always grown up with stories. Interesting stories, how people behave.
And you born and raised in Cape Town?
No, van die Transvaal.
Okay.
And then in the Free State, so I actually see myself as a Free Stater, so that's where I studied drama.
Okay,
Yeah.
So when did you come to Cape Town?
8 years ago.
Not too long ago.
No, so I'm still an outsider.
Right, you've got another 2 years to go.
Another 2 years.
That's what they say, 10 years. And
10
then you're a
years.
Cape Townian.
Yeah. No, actually what happened was I did a soap for 2 years in Gauteng, an Afrikaans soap called Seven Delon. Then my contract wasn't renewed, and I didn't have any work.
Right.
And I sort of fled. I didn't know what to do, and I came to Cape Town. No money, didn't know anybody. Yeah, so I had to. There's a beautiful saying, Joseph Campbell, he's a well-known mythologist. And he says, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek.
Nice.
And I came to face, I went into the cave deep. Yeah. It's been a couple of years, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how's it been since you sort of had that sort of success? I mean, I guess being an actor, being in a series that you're working almost every day, and then to go to nothing, and then now going like, because I'm sure at some point of that consistent work, you kind of feel established, you kind of feel successful, or...
And in that lies arrogance.
Right. Is that something that you felt?
I didn't realize how comfortable and, arrogant I became.
Okay.
But also, it's not the real world for me. To backtrack a bit, I studied in Bloem.
Okay,
Drama, but at that stage, the university, its course wasn't too good. It wasn't as practical as I wanted it to be. And then I went to AFTA in Joburg. But because I'm a very sensitive person, this industry can be very harsh. And I saw the very harsh side of it. And then I went overseas because I stopped acting. And it was a very harsh decision for me. I remember it was like for a year, I couldn't even go to see a film because it really was heart sore for me. And I came back and then I worked, because I love writing as well. And then I worked as a sub-editor in a newspaper. And at that stage, I was about 27, 28, which is it's quite late to become an actor, you know.
Sure.
And Charlize Tron and myself, we were exactly the same age. And I was sitting in the newsroom, and we were one of the first people who got the news that she got the Oscar, won the Oscar.
Oh, wow.
And I sat there and I went cold. And I knew, but I'm not living my dream.
Right.
And I had to do something about it. And I got an agent. And I was lucky Then in about 2 months' time, I got Sevensalon. So my contract not getting extended was the best thing that could have happened to me, because I became lazy.
Right.
As an actor.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your time on Sevensalon in terms of that experience of, like you say, so I'm sure in the beginning you weren't lazy. In the beginning there must have been like real excitement.
Oh yeah, it was
passion.
Wonderful. I mean, I pinched myself that I was able to do.
So what year was that roughly?
2005, 2006,
okay.
I think. It was wonderful in the beginning.
And this was around about 27, 28?
Yeah, 28, 29.
So that's pretty exciting. I mean,
yeah.
What was your role?
The character was Inga.
Okay.
And worked in a boutique.
Right.
Yeah. And also, when you're in a soap, especially in a soap that's so popular as that, the media creates something out of it.
Right.
Right? And I basically had to start from scratch again, because people don't necessarily regard you as an actor if you were in a soap.
Right.
Because that's where I sort of made a name for myself.
Yeah.
But not necessarily as an actor,
Right.
a serious actor.
Yeah. But having said that, I mean, if we look at the South African context as far as South African actors and what a South African actor could perform in as, something that is on that level, that is in the public eye, that is not necessarily a TV commercial or a featured extra on a regular series. For the most part, that's a big deal, being on a soap where you have some level of publicity as a local. So yes, maybe it's not like you say, in the acting world, maybe people don't see it as it's a soap, but the reality is that what other avenues as local South African actors do you have to be on stage almost every day at a level where you have a viewership that is in the thousands, and especially in a community like the Afrikaans that 100% support their community, which is a big deal. I mean,
it is a big deal.
So for actors, I understand that you're saying, it's maybe not taken that seriously, but the reality is that it is serious. It is a job. There is a lot of money in there, and at the end of the day, if you break it down to its nuts and bolts, as much as you can say you're an artist, it's a business.
Yeah. And I mean, Justin, it was my own fault that I became lazy.
Okay.
I became too comfortable, and it's something that I regret, and I would never ever go that route again, because it is hard work.
Right.
It's hard work, and I'm grateful for it. Yeah.
Did you find that in terms of the training, because you mentioned that when you were at drama school, it wasn't very practical, and then spent some time at AFTA, being on set, being on a soap, did you find that you learnt much more?
Oh, yes. That's where I learned.
So how would you compare, and sort of what advice would you sort of give your younger self saying, going through that experience versus going through the drama school route? Because there are a lot of people that don't go to drama school that do become successful.
Would I do it again? Would I study again? Is that what you're...
Well, just in terms of the practicality versus, I think like education is really important, but I also feel personally that the way education is going, whether it be for, whether you want to become a lawyer, a doctor, just the way that we're teaching us kids, I mean, maybe not in the professions, but from, grade 1 all the way through grade 12, it's very much one size fits all.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see more of the practical application of the world that we live in. I mean, we're learning about calculus and things, and it's not really going to use that in a practical way. You know, how do you survive? We are looking at people as actors. You might have 3 jobs, 4 jobs, just to support yourself as being an actor until you can reach that sort of plateau of going, okay, well, I can just focus on my acting because I have enough income coming in from the work that I'm doing. So what I'm trying to say is, with regards to, if you look at the school and the schooling and the stuff that you learned and the value that you gain from that versus the value that you gained on the job, is there still a place for that formal structured education? Or if there is still a place for it, how do you feel that, what should be changed, what should be brought into the syllabus where there isn't such a gap between, I've just left drama school and now I actually really haven't learnt anything?
I think the biggest thing that I missed was mentorship. And I think that is why a conversation like this is so important, because nobody helped me to survive once you've left an educational system or varsity or tech or whatever. Students are literally thrown into the deep end. How do you get an agent? How do you survive? It's big. And how do you deal with rejection?
Right. That's
day after day after day. Nobody told me these things. And it's a harsh journey to be rejected all the time.
Dealing with rejection on a day-to-day basis, and this is something that comes up in everyone's lives in every format, but I think as someone who's putting themselves out there, being vulnerable, and then getting shut down almost on a daily basis, it could be soul-destroying. And yet, you know, you keep going back every day, you go to auditions, and every day, whether you actually get told you get the job, or you don't get told you get the job, or you do get the job, how do you deal with that? And what sort of mechanisms have you come up with to sort of be okay with that? Because it's not in your control.
What helps me is, first of all, to have a balance in life. I have a lot of friends that are not in the industry. I try and do things that are not industry bound, just to help me have a balance in life. And it's only, I turned 40 last year, and it's only now that I'm not so attached to the outcome anymore.
Amazing.
And that was a big thing for me to switch in my head. That it's not about me. It's easier said than done.
Sure.
But it will come. It will come in whatever way, but not to be attached to outcome is a big thing. Oh, and the other big thing is, and I'm still working on it, but not to compare myself to others.
I mean, that's a big thing right now. You know, people compare themselves. They're on Facebook, on social media. Oh, those people are having such a good time, and oh man, I wish I was having a good time. And it's not real.
It's not real. Facebook is a photoshopped life.
It's a highlight reel, 100%.
Because people would come up to me and say, "Yo, Antoinette, it's so going well with you. You're so busy," and I'm going, "What?"
100%.
And people who knew me from school would say, "Oh, wow, you live such a glamorous life," and I'm going,
"Really?" Yeah, amazing.
Because articles and magazine covers, even the articles are photoshopped, if you know what I mean. Your life is photoshopped.
So I mean, having said that, and just going back a little bit to what you said with not feeling good enough, and you know, you sort of get to a point where you, like you say, you almost have to be. You got to get to that point where you go, no, I actually am good enough, and it's not me but I do have to trust that something will come along.
Trust is the biggest thing. Trust in myself, trust that that this path that you're on is the path for you.
So what changed for you? Is there any sort of actionable advice? I know it's something that comes with age, and it's very difficult when you're 16 or 17, you're very excited, and during that time of your life, even right through your 20s, you don't necessarily feel that you might be good enough, even if people tell you. There's always that, like you say, comparing yourself to others. Those people are doing so well. Oh wow, that person booked the job, look at that photo, blah, blah, blah. But you're still seeing all those things, but now you feel there's a difference. Well, what is that, and is there something that you could sort of say, well, these are the actionable steps that really helped me to get here, to get to this point of being okay and being able to trust that I am good enough and work will come?
I wish I could say there are steps, but every person's journey is different. It took me a long time to get to that point, and it was and for me, I'm so sensitive to rejection anyway, since school.
Right.
For me, it came with age. It came with doing different things, like going swimming with dolphins in Mozambique, or go to Africa Burn, or that stuff that feeds my soul on a different level.
Right.
Because acting or this industry can become all-consuming, and there's a lot of ego.
Yeah.
I don't know if it helps me answering that, but I remember an agent's probably like the 100th time I went to my agent and say, "Oh, I'm not good enough, everybody else is getting work." And she said, for a woman in this country, things start happening from 35 to 40. I thought, but I can't wait that long.
Yeah.
And it did.
Yeah.
And to stop comparing myself to other actresses who get booked since they were 23, my path is different.
Yeah.
And I can feel for the first time that I'm breathing.
Amazing. So you mentioned that having a mentor, or you would have liked to have had a mentor.
Oh, Justin.
Is that something that you are currently doing for somebody else? Is that something that you could potentially be doing for something else? I 100% agree with you that there is, if you look in commerce, if you look in business, all those guys have mentors.
Yeah.
You can, guys that have been down that road, and they could sort of steer you in the right direction. Even as you're developing a startup company, you could go to these incubators or accelerators, and they guide you because people need help. That's the reality. But when it comes to creatives, whether you be an actor, a comedian, a painter, there is very little in the form of some sort of mentorship, where you would think that those vocations would need even more.
Exactly.
Because you are being so, cool, okay, so you've got a business idea and it doesn't work out. Yeah, you do put your lifeblood into it, but at the same time, you are bearing your soul.
So vulnerable.
As a performer, you are really putting yourself out there in terms of your own person. It's not a business. If the business failed, okay, well, maybe they didn't like the product, maybe they didn't like the service. But if I failed, they didn't like me. So, where is the mentorship for that? And is that something that you are actually pursuing as a...
I definitely have a couple of actresses or actors, that I have on my phone.
Yeah.
And I know they can phone me anytime they want. And I think the big thing here is to know that the feelings that you have, that you're not alone.
Yeah.
And that's why this conversation is so important. Because there's there aren't always a lot of support.
No. Because
So-
people will say, you want to be an actor, they'll laugh at you. Even just at the thought of saying, I want to be an actor, you should be an accountant or a doctor.
Yeah, and there's, in the community itself, there's a lot of competition.
Sure.
So there's a lot of solitude as well. So people are, although it's ironic, we are so vulnerable, and when you act, yet on a one-on-one off stage, people are scared to be vulnerable and show their vulnerable sides and say, I'm shit scared.
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel I'm not worthy. I'm not getting jobs, what's wrong with me? And it's, those feelings are important to voice, to know that you're not alone. So I produced a play called Night Mother. It was a Pulitzer Prize in the 80s. And it was myself and Sandra Prinsloo, two-hander, and Laura Bai directed. I really struggled with this play. And during one rehearsal, we were taking a lunch break and I went outside and I cried. Okay? Didn't want them to see. But if I cry, my face gets blotchy and it's red eyes, so I can't. Yeah. I came back, went on with rehearsals, and then afterwards, Sandra said, you know what? That I mustn't think that she never ever cried during rehearsals as a young actress. She can't count the number of times that she cried and she felt that she couldn't get it right. And that I mustn't think that she's feeling during those rehearsals processes, that we were busy with that play, that she's not struggling.
Right.
And I thought, my God, Sandra Prince was struggling? You felt the same way as that I did?
Yeah.
And I'll never ever forget that. The gift of feeling that I'm not alone.
Right.
But we just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Sandra doesn't share,
Yeah.
with the media,
Yeah.
her vulnerable side.
Yeah.
She comes across as, and most, people hide that.
Absolutely. Well, we only want to show our best on, on those platforms.
Yeah.
Having said that, and the comparison with social media, are you active on social media? What are you doing as you versus my agent is finding me work? In terms of the self-promotion, using the tools that we have today, I know a lot of people express the view that there's a lot of gatekeepers. Oh, I don't have an agent. I have an agent. They're not pushing me. They're not sending me to the right castings. Versus, hang on a second, there's this really cool thing called YouTube, or I could put on my own play, or I could make an Instagram video, or. So in terms of the having permission to sort of cast, having permission to sort of go and say, well, I got a job in black sales, so now I'm an actor. Okay, but black sales is now no more, and I'm not an actor anymore because I don't have a job. Where do you sort of say, hang on a second, I am the master of my destiny. If I want to do this, then, like you said, it's up to me.
There are many wonderful platforms out there that you can use. And you can't sit on your bum and wait for work. There are very few people who are able to work constantly.
Right. I mean, that's the reality.
But they're the exception to the rule. And it's very empowering for me to create my own work.
What are you currently working on?
I produce a lot of theatre that I also act in myself. Okay. So when I do that, people have seen me on stage after producing my own work, and it was sort of, then I got work because of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
And it's really, you know, it sounds, oh, but to produce your own work and put your own work on stage, it sounds like a big mountain, but it's not.
right.
I remember realizing that I really need to do something now. Like I can't go on like this. Once you start doing it, it's not that big of a deal.
How will people know what you're good at if you keep doing other people's stuff?
Mm.
What does your day look like?
If I'm not working, I'm not as stressed about it anymore because I'm trusting. I put out the work, maybe producing a play, and I have an idea and I put that. But if you live a life like this, where there isn't a lot of structure, I do believe that there should be some structure, whether it's like your first cup of coffee, or I love my yoga. So that's my sort of anchor. When I'm working, I work very hard.
Right.
Very, very hard. But I've also, as I'm older, I've realized that I should take care of myself and be kind to myself when I'm not working.
Right.
I don't have to stress about it.
Yeah.
Because when I work hard. But when I'm not, that's also okay.
Right.
It's okay.
Yeah. That's great.
You need to be gentle with yourself. And especially when you're working with your own emotions and being vulnerable.
What are you working on? What can we look forward to seeing you on?
The Dutch are making a film about Bram Fischer, who was an Afrikaner. And he was the lead advocate during the Ravona trial, and he helped Madiba and them to not get the death sentence.
Right.
And they're making a film about Bram and his wife Molly. And about 2 or 3 years ago, my dad and me and my mom went to see a one-man show about Bram Fischer's life. And we walked out of there and we cried, because I grew up in a family that's quite liberal. And Bram Fischer was ousted by the Afrikaner community because he was so liberal. And he never got the recognition in his life. And last week I heard that I got the role of Molly Fischer.
Oh wow, congratulations.
Thank you. I'm not even speaking of as an actress, but on a personal level. To be able to be involved with this amazing man's life and his wife.
Yeah.
This play that we're doing, Amper Vrystaat. Amper is like a fictional dorpie in the Free State. The play went very, very well. We all wrote it ourselves. Oh, wow. And that's also becoming a movie.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so when was that written?
We wrote it last year.
Oh,
And
wow.
we did all the festivals, the Afrikaans festivals.
Yeah.
And somebody saw it and they saw the potential of it becoming a movie.
Just to sort of wrap up our chat, with regards to where you've come from and your story, and looking back on that and speaking about mentorship and how important that is, just maybe a parting few words of advice, guidance, whatever you want, just to sort of maybe potentially inspire someone who might be listening, somebody who maybe is feeling vulnerable, rejected, or at the same time maybe feeling arrogant and confident. Just, words of wisdom that you can impart to those people.
You are not alone. If you're feeling vulnerable, if you're feeling unworthy, that's okay. Use your own uniqueness. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek.